Everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Stuart Victor Echo 9 Charlie Foxtrot, and on the POTA Performers podcast, we bring some pretty cool POTA people in to talk about their experiences with Parks on the Air. And today happens to be Caribbean Day here on the channel. We've had some interesting conversation with POTA activators and non-POTA activators who have done remote operations in the Caribbean. And today's show brings Molly, W3NY, that many of you know Molly, and Julius. First time I got to meet you, Julius, Alpha Kilo 9 India Tango. So welcome to the program, you guys. It's nice to have you. Molly, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little about yourself and your journey in ham radio?
Sure. My name's Molly, W3NY, and got my license in 2016 once I realized that you didn't need the code requirement anymore, and was always interested in HF, bought a radio right away like most people do when they upgrade to general, and could never get the thing to talk to people. And a friend of mine said, we're having this POTA outing, you know about it, it's Parks on the Air, you want to go along? I'm like, sure. And then he dropped the bombshell. He's like, well, you should at least have an activation before we go and have an account with Parks on the Air. And I'm like, oh. So I had a bus trip down to Tennessee, and I took the radio along, and we did a lot of experimentation. And I actually figured out how to make the radio talk to people. And I realized that when you're doing Parks on the Air, people want to talk to you. It's not like 13 colonies where you can't get in because the whole world wants to talk to them. So it's been really fun. Just
awesome.
Seeing all the different parks and just getting into it like that.
And we'll get into your expedition to Dry Tortugas in a second here, because one of the things about Parks on the Air that I like, and especially here in the eastern part of Canada, I get to see parts of this beautiful country of ours that I would never ever get a chance to go see if it wasn't for Parks on the Air. But Julius, tell us about yourself. Alpha X-ray or Alpha Kilo 9 India Tango. Tell us. I have to check my log and see if I ever worked you. I don't know.
Yeah, ditto. So first of all, it's a vanity call sign. A lot of people get thrown off by the 9. I live nowhere near the Midwest of the U.S. I'm in the East Coast here, not far from Molly, actually. I got into ham radio because, as my call sign implies, I'm into dogs and IT. What I do is can't say it's a hobby, it's kind of a second job for me. I'm involved in a search and rescue crew here in Pennsylvania. I am a canine handler sometimes, and for my living, my primary day job, I work in IT. I got into POTA because of search and rescue. We use ham radio out in the field. I was going to be that guy that was just going to have just an HT just for working MCOM. Went out and got my tech license in 2019. Figured, okay, I studied for this pretty hard. The general's not that much different. Let's go ahead and do the general. So I did the general a month later, and then I figured, okay, I've got all these questions under my belt. I might as well go for the big one. So I went and got my extra after that. And I suspect the same guy that suggested to Molly that she get into Parks on the Air made the suggestion to me. It took me out in the field, and I've been hooked ever since.
And it's great to see another fellow IT person. I spent a number of years in IT, running my own managed service provider out Western Canada, selling that in 2008, and then starting a marketing service for IT company, and ran that until last September when I eventually hung it up and sold it to my daughter. Now I am 100% retired. So it's a beautiful thing to have. So
I've got about 150 house payments before I can call myself retired.
So, I mean, you guys, I just checked my log, Julius. I've never worked you on ever, so I'm looking forward to seeing you on the spot page next, and I'll make sure I give you a special holler there. I've worked Molly millions of times, so every time I see her, I have a rule usually. I work only new park, except for a few people, and if Molly's on it, I always give her a call because I always want to say hi. Because you've got such a pleasant voice to hear on the radio. So you guys do this Dry Tortugas trip. It looks like it's since I've been back in ham radio, it seems to be an annual trip. And a couple years ago, I threatened about going myself. And then just the price of the dollar exchange and things, I couldn't make it happen. So tell me about the idea. How did the idea of Dry Tortugas come about? Because there's hams doing expeditions every day of the week. Yours is a little unique because not too many times we see Parks on the Air and an expedition expedition kind of combined. They do happen, but we don't see it every day. How did the idea come about?
Because I'm a lighthouse fanatic, and I had gone to Key West and gotten a ticket to go out to Dry Tortugas specifically to get the lighthouse stamp. And I was out there and I saw there was camping, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And it was actually before I got into HF, so it didn't really click at that point, that this would be a POTA location. And I always wanted to go back there and camp after I realized that. Then I got into radio, and then I got realizing more and more of all the different programs that are part of radio. And I realized that, whoa, we can like more than triple dip at this place with all the different programs. And it's kind of DX-y. It's not exactly a DX entity, but yet 70 miles west of Key West makes us feel like, we have to plan. It's not like we can run home and get that thing that we lost or left behind, really. So that's sort of kind of the background of it. And we had so much fun the first year that we decided, we're going to do this again. And then at Dayton last spring, I was together with a bunch of ladies, and we got this big idea to do this coming year as YL only. So that's a whole nother ball of wax. It's just a ton of fun to plan for.
And every expedition organizer I speak to echoes the same thing. 95% of the expedition is in the planning. The operating the radio stuff, that's the easy part.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
We do that all the time. So what does the logistics look like to get out there? Because I don't think you can it's not like a park where you can just drive up to. I mean, you got to organize a way to get out there, right?
Exactly. The first year we took the ferry out, I got very fortunate, and I got 7 camping tickets. That year they dropped the tickets anywhere from 12 to 15 months in advance, and you just had to keep watching to see when they dropped the ticket. And I got lucky, and I got the 7 tickets, and so we filled them up and went. And the second year, I actually had the tickets for the second year before we went the first year, because we had to get them so far in advance, and I got 10 tickets for that year. And then last year, I was not able to get the tickets. They changed how they dropped the tickets, and it was just impossible. I heard there was 30,000 people looking for tickets the day they dropped. So we went with a charter captain, and he has been fantastic. He took our stuff out for us last year, and he did such a great job that we're all just going to go with him. So he took 2 loads of us out, and last year when we piled all the gear on the dock, he sent his one captain to get us, and he looked at all our stuff, and he's like, that's never going to fit in the boat. And we're like, do you mind we'll just start loading and see where we get? And he's like, yeah, sure. And we got almost everything on that first load, and then he brought the rest out with someone the next morning. And when I pack, I try to pack everything so that if something gets lost, we're still good. Because the battery boxes, for instance, I put a 100 amp hour battery. There's a bunch of connections there, a power meter, a length of coax, and some odd tools in each one of those boxes. They're all the same. I had 3 of them. And here, 2 of those got left in the boat by accident, and totally nobody's fault. We just totally missed them. But because I had coax packed in the field desk, it didn't matter. We still had enough stuff. So it's the redundancy in packing is one of the things I try to do. And yeah, there's just a ton of logistics. I provide all the equipment. It just makes it a little easier. Then we can set up the stations and leave them set up the whole time.
And you mentioned camping. Now, so you can actually camp there?
Yes. They have a campground. If you get out there, there's a guaranteed camping spot for you, is what they say. So if you go out on a private boat, there's no reason to reserve in advance. Because our group is so large, we have to send them a group camping permit. It's simply just like the one ranger said, it just tells us to expect a bigger group just so we know. And so it's nothing scary on that point. But
all the YouTube videos I watched from my RV days, traveling around the southern part of the US in an RV, there are people that done videos of going there, and they never mentioned it being a camping location. So that's nice to have. But you're 100% off the grid, right? You're not, there's no services there, right?
Right. You have composting toilets, everything else. If you don't bring it, you don't have it.
No. You pack your own food in and all that, right?
Pack your own food in. You pack your own water in. If you come in on the Yankee Freedom, they will haul trash out for you. But if you come in any other way, you have to haul your own trash. It is 100% very primitive camping.
The way it should be.
That's right. It's a great
And
time.
very beautiful.
It's awesome.
So those people that don't know where this particular location is, it's 70 miles west of Key West. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you basically take either a ferry or you're chartering your own boat out there, and you're out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America, whatever side of the equation you're on, right? You're sitting there in the middle of the Gulf, and you're self-sufficient playing radio for how many days? 5 or 6 days?
Well, if you're crazy, you're there for an entire week, plus or minus a couple of days. We did get trapped out there for an extra day because of weather. It was so bad that the Yankee Freedom didn't come out on Monday. Usually they tell us, unless there's a hurricane, we're going to be there. We got word early Monday that they weren't coming. The waves were so high and the winds were so bad. Not that we mind it. We got to see the place. We had it all to ourselves for an extra day. We've never had it to ourselves during the day. Usually that's after 5:30 we get it. Everybody goes home and the campers have the island to themselves. We got it for an extra day during the day. That was a lot of fun.
So
It's really interesting. When the Yankee Freedom shows up, the hordes descend upon the island and all the campers just sort of hibernate until they all go home again. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what unique challenges do you guys see when you're out there operating? You know, obviously there's the logistics of just getting the equipment, and Molly did a great job explaining that. But I'm going to say it's like it's like my expedition I did to Grindstone Island a year and a half ago, which is a small little island in the Bay of Fundy. We chartered 2 Zodiacs. It took me and PRV, 2 Golf Tango, and some island researchers out there. The Grindstone Island used to be owned, I think it's still owned by the Anglican Church of Canada, and the New Brunswick Nature Trust of New Brunswick manages it for them. It's basically, there's an old lighthouse there. So Molly, you would love it from the lighthouse, the historical lighthouse. It's the lighthouse structure is still there, but the lamp is gone. And the rest of the island is this basically wildlife sanctuary. And there's only one place you can pull in there and park your boat. We're parked our Zodiacs. And once the tide goes out, you're stuck there for the day until high tide comes back, because the tidal swings in the Gulf of in the Bay of Fundy could be 50 or 60 feet.
Oh, they're incredible.
Incredible, height. So Pierre and I got out there. We had a blast, but logistical wise, we had to make sure we had all our batteries, and so we're only out there for a day. So I can only imagine if you're out there 5 hours and having, first off, food, water, and then you got to deal with the radios, the equipment, and the most important thing is the personalities of all the operators, making sure you got the right team. And all the expedition guys always tell me it comes down to having the right team, the right people out there. And what have you learned about selection and people coming out there?
So far we've been very fortunate. I mean, everybody has gotten along really well. We've had some people that this was basically their very first big radio deal, and we did one of the challenges was needing to do training on the computers and stuff, because we had a couple people that were not used to computer logging at all, so that was all new for them. But it's kind of a laid back environment. We don't operate split or anything like that, and we try to keep the radios going all day, so we get pileups in the evening and stuff, but it's a very nice pace. And so someone that's new, it's not overwhelming, and that's kind of how I have viewed it. And I've always enjoyed everyone that's gone, and it's pretty much been, if you want to go and can get there, you're accepted on the team.
So now the secret comes out there, Julius, and now my messages to Molly while she was out there: operate split, operate split, operate split.
So I will admit that I have attempted to operate split. I switched to CW actually right before we started doing this trip, and I just find that it's easier to operate split. That said, there's a lot of people in the POTA world who aren't really DXpedition chasers, so split, you can get away with it until you get a lot of the noobs, and then they don't quite understand it, and you have to make other arrangements. As far as the personalities go, I'll agree with Molly. We got really, really lucky with, we haven't had any real bad personality conflict. The first year we had a couple guys that didn't really like each other, but they were mature enough to deal with that. They knew they didn't like each other. They kind of worked with it. And every year since, there's been no real issues that I've noticed. But everybody, I mean, the island's big enough. You don't have to interact with anybody. You don't want to.
Yeah, very true, very true. And I agree. It's funny. I was talking with Chris Billings, WA7, Romeo Alpha Romeo, about just challenges in ham radio. Like, how do you stay interested in Parks on the Air without getting burnt out? I mean, doing what you guys do is one way. But I said to Chris, I said, I'm going to go out. This is my challenge for this year. I'm going to go out and do a POTA activation with the title of the video is Can I Activate a Park Working Split? And that's my, I've done things like that where I've gone out and say, okay, I've done a Parks on the Air activation. Can I activate a park working in the non-US band? So I don't know if you know, but a lot of the rest of the world can operate sideband below 14,150 and 21,200. The US people are limited to that, right? So sometimes we want to go navigate down where we're not getting, as we jokingly say, QRM by our neighbors to the south. We'll dip below 14,150, right? So I did a video that said, can I activate a park in the non-US? And when I activate a park, I'm talking flora and fauna standard, so 44 contacts. I mean, 10 contacts is, an easier, 44 is a little more difficult. So I did it. I did it, and funny enough, I had 5 or 6 US people call me out of band. So
well, that happens.
That happens, right? But whatever, right? But anyway, so I'm always up for challenges like that. I've started a new series on this channel called Can It DX. So I take, I did a $30 ballon off of Amazon, and I made a dipole. So can I work DX with this thing, right? So I'm always, that's what I'm getting at, is to keep the interest in Parks on the Air. As you've been doing it for a long time, like we have, sometimes you got to find new things. Yours was going into CW, right? And although right. I haven't, after 35 years of being a ham, I refused to dust the CW key off. But doing things like FT8 or FT4 or whatever, just find new challenges. And what you guys are doing presents a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So, the radio part is actually the easy part. There's always there's that rush. It takes us about a week to get there. We leave, I think we left on the 14th this year. It took us, we got there Monday, got to Key West Monday, I think it was. We hit the island on Tuesday. Was it Sunday? Yeah. We hit the island Tuesday, and then there was this moment where we're sitting there, all the equipment is set up, and Molly and I finally get to sit down, and we look at each other, and we're like, this is pretty relaxing. It's been hectic and breakneck for the last few days, but now that we're here, we don't have to touch a radio. We're not doing anything. We actually brought a couple of cooks. Well, Molly did, brought a couple of people to handle the kitchen duties. There was a few minutes where there was absolutely nothing to do, and it was glorious. It actually made it all worth it. And then, getting another kilo this year was the icing on the cake, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking to Mike, who lives in Orlando, who went out with you. I'm not sure what this year. Yeah, and he was telling me, just to warm up, you guys did some parks around Key West, and that was great because I've got some new parks down there. So I mean, that was really. I mean, it's really, I'm a DXer at heart. I said my 3 loves about ham radio: DXing, portable, and contesting. And Parks on the Air brings them all together.
Right.
It does.
I operate my POTA activations a little more contest-like. Although I did promise Chris that I would stop using everybody a 5.9 and start going 5.7s and 5.5. Just throw them in there every once in a while, just to change things up. You're really a 5.9, but I'm going to give you a 5. I'm going to give you a 5.5 just to change things up, right?
My rule of thumb is if I can carry on a conversation, you're 5.9. If it's a little dicey, but we could still talk, you're a 5.5. If I really can't hear you, you're a 4.4, and if I really can't hear you, you're 3.3.
I like that. That's kind of the same kind of mentality I have. Yeah.
I try to give honest signal reports on CW, but I use a keyer, so whatever comes out is what you get. You might get a 4 when I'm at 5.
Yeah. The only way I'm going to get into CW if my computer can do it for me. But the decoders are not 100% perfect yet. So, and I did CW as a career back in the Army, and I promised myself once I got out of the Army, I was never going to touch it again. And I've lived up to my promise all these years.
Yeah, so, like Molly, I got my license because it didn't require a CW, and then about 2 years after I got it, I just started to learn anyway. So
I took my military record of CW when I tested in the military, and took it to the licensing guys in Canada and said, "Look, I've already done it right here." He said, "Okay, that's good enough." Signed it off.
Nice.
But one federal government agency to another, right? It's really cool. And one thing I want to talk about is the call sign allocation, because in the US, it's a little different. You guys are really like a special event down there, right?
For the N4T, yes. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
special event call sign.
Could you get a special call sign just for that? Like here in Canada, for example, I'm running VX9P this month to honor the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Kapyong during the Korean War. I mean, those are available to us for $60 for a month. We can pay for that special call sign, and I can get any 2x5, a 2x4, a 2x1, or I can't do a 2x2s. 2x2s are restricted, but a 2x3, I can do a Victor Bravo, a Victor X-ray, a Charlie Golf, an X-ray Mike. I can get any call sign to match the event, right? You guys are restricted to 1x1s, I think.
Correct. Yeah, it would be really cool if we could get other call signs.
It'd be interesting to find out if you get a vanity call for it, though, because it'd be really neat.
Yeah, you could get a vanity call,
right?
Yep. Molly, actually, we're using Molly's club call for POTA. So all the contacts go in under the club call sign, but theoretically we could create a club call sign with a vanity call that would be more than 1x1.
Yeah, why not? Like create a club call that does the expedition, right?
Right.
Because you're in the 4 call area, but you don't have to have a 4 call, right? I mean, don't get me started on US call signs because they're to an outsider, I shake my head and go, "What are they thinking?" But I guess it makes sense because here in Canada to get a call sign, like I have to have a VE9 because I'm in New Brunswick. My mailing address is in New Brunswick. I have to have a VE9. But I could use my son's address in Alberta and still keep my VE6 call from when I lived out there. Now, do I want to? I really have no need for it. But I could. I know guys that have a Victor Oscar 2 because they go up to Labrador once a year for a guy's trip away to play some radio. So they use that once in a blue moon there, right?
One address. Yeah, here it's more of a suggestion. The only ones that it really matters for are Hawaii and Alaska. Those are restricted to physical address.
And it doesn't really matter I know people that have Kilo Lima 7 calls that don't live in Alaska.
Until they get caught, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you learned from doing this trip over the years? What are some of the mistakes that you made and lessons that you learned that you can share with others who may want to do something like this?
I see her smiling. I know what she's going to say.
I'll let you start, Julius. Go ahead, because you got all the technical challenges while I went to bed.
So a few things we've learned over the years. The first year we had beautiful sun exposure. Our solar panels were overproducing. We were getting 10 amps out of solar panels that were only supposed to be producing 6 amps. It was beautiful. Everything worked. I could keep the batteries topped up. The second year, we got rain, and then we got clouds. So we learned from that experience some of the things that went into this year and some of the things that are going into 2027. I can't believe we're talking about that already. One of the other things we learned, we had some technical difficulties this year. We actually broke a boat and had to transfer some items from one boat to another. This is the battery story Molly started to tell you earlier. We ended up with 100 amp hours of battery when we brought, I believe we had 500 total. Some of them got left behind for a couple of days. So we have learned some things about how to pack and how to keep track of what's where and what's made it to the island and when. Inventory is a big thing. We keep learning, we keep improving. If you have ever seen the photos on our blog of some of the stuff sitting on the dock, it just looks like an incredibly massive amount of gear. Pretty much all of it gets used, and what doesn't is there in case we have a hiccup. Something falls overboard, something doesn't make it. We have a spare usually. Go ahead, Molly.
Yeah, like the first year we ended up leaving. No, the second year we took a field desk along, and yeah, a Harding field desk like the Army uses seems like overkill, but it has 6 really nice drawers, and when you put the covers on, it's watertight, so we could drop it in the ocean and we wouldn't have to worry about our stuff. And so we've used that, and that got left behind the first year because it was bulky and we didn't throw it in the boat first. And so we still had enough stuff with us that it didn't matter that we didn't have that. Yeah, we were a little short, but it still worked. And then like Julius was saying this year with the stuff not getting transferred from the boat, we still had enough to work. So just not putting all our eggs in the same basket has really helped with our packing. And I keep lists of everything that goes, and I might not have those like someone said we should have done a checklist coming off the boat, but realistically doing a checklist as stuff comes off the boat, just how fast everything moves, it wasn't realistic. But when I started doing my checklist after the boat left, we realized that we didn't have them. And yeah, just keeping those lists to pack from is lifesaver for that.
So I go from that moment when we're breathing that sigh of relief and we have nothing to do. That was the high point of the beginning of my trip. Then I found out we didn't have batteries. I was a little grumpy for a couple of days after that, but I returned to happy face. I think we got those Friday or Saturday.
You're running 500 amp hours of battery power with solar panels, so there's no AC there you can charge in an emergency, right? You're again 100% self-sufficient.
You should be. That's a trade secret. We do have ways of getting power when we shouldn't be getting power.
Gotcha. We'll keep that amongst friends. So, but what are you running for antennas there? Because obviously, antennas could take up. If you're doing full expedition, you're not bringing Yagis and stuff with you. You're probably using some field expedient type antennas, right?
Right. So I don't know if you've seen the map of the island. Maybe you can superimpose that. But we're limited to the very north end of the island, just south of that coaling dock. They used to allow ham radio on that concrete block up at the top, but now there's a bunch of construction equipment, and the dock isn't in great shape, so they don't want guests there. So we're stuck on that little grassy knoll just to the east of that north beach and just south of that dock. There's not a whole lot of room there. There is at most 50 feet end to end and maybe 30 feet north and south. So we're stuck with whatever we can fit in there. We ran, what did we run? We ran a couple of 16-foot verticals. We ran a 25-foot vertical. The radials weren't ideal because we could only run them east to west. There wasn't enough room to run them north to south. We had a PAC-10 on the end of a POTA. I think it was a POTA 20. And then beneath all that, we had a 6-meter dipole, arrow antenna dipole. And we did the best we could in the space we had. It's kind of like field day where you just don't have enough room to spread out. So you position everything under each other and at the ends of things, and you try to keep them from interfering with each other. That was actually Matt's job, was to figure out what could go where without, causing a whole lot of interference. And then we did have bandpass filters, which did a great job of helping us out.
What about, so I answered my question about bandpass filters. So how many operators are running at one time?
At the time, we had 3 radios going at the same time. In the middle of the night, it was typically 2, sometimes 1. But we did a pretty good job this year. We had a lot of CW operators. I was very happy to see that we had enough CW operators to cover all shifts. So we were running sideband, we were running FT8, we were running CW at times, all at the same time.
When you're doing FT8, are you running just on the main FT8 channels?
Yeah, we're going to figure out Foxhound one of these days.
We more than doubled our CW contacts this year. It was not quite triple from last year.
First year, I believe I was the only CW operator, and I was brand new to it. Second year we had 2, and this year we had at least 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, we were CW. I won't say CW heavy, but we definitely had enough CW operators.
Yeah, I think now that I tweaked my interest, maybe I'll do a POTA activation this year where I do nothing but Fox and Hound activation on FT8.
Yeah, we're gonna
just to see if I can do it.
We're gonna figure that out. So we try not to use Starlink. We try to just do everything via radio. We got WinLink running really well this year, so we should be able to spot ourselves and be able to leverage Fox and Hound.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like for comms outside of ham radio, I mean, so you're not running any. You're not bringing your own internet out there.
No, we've that would be, to me, that feels like cheating. We're kind of going out there because it's away from everything. Kind of feels like if I bring that, then I'm going to kind of feel obligated to check email. And, if I don't bring that, I can say there's no way you can get a hold of me unless you get a license. And so far that's been working on my boss. So
it was funny because the 6-meter people really would like to get that grid square, and I've just never run 6 meters and not familiar with it, but we tried. We kept checking for openings. One of the other CW ops would call CQ every once in a while checking for openings and stuff, and one of their guys offered to send a Starlink package with us, and I'm like, I already have thousands of dollars invested in equipment. A Starlink thing would be a drop in the bucket, so it's not money that's the problem. We made a conscious decision to be off grid because it's just, I can't really describe the feeling of coming home and checking Facebook that you haven't checked for a week, and it's kind of coming out of the wild and seeing what everyone's posted about you.
It's kind of nice, isn't it? Not, I mean,
Mhm.
I declared social media bankruptcy when I retired. I left every group, even ham radio groups. I just left the group because it was social media overload. And lucky enough for me that the information I get for DXpeditions or POTA, I have a great little WhatsApp group, and we just keep in touch that way. But yeah, I get it. I mean, I get it. But I don't know what it's like in the U.S., but in Canada now, Rogers, one of our big cell phone companies, has launched this satellite service. So with your smartphone, you can actually get a satellite, so you can actually send a text message. So if I've spotted myself using the text message spotting on POTA when I had no cell phone coverage because of this satellite coverage that Rogers announced, that you just hold your smartphone up and you follow the satellite. It's pretty neat. I'm sure one of the big carriers in the US would have something, so I'm sure it's not a unique to Canada technology.
Right. Yeah, it's available in the US. We did use satellite texting when we had a bit of an emergency with the Yankee Freedom the second day. That came in handy because we had to call our charter captain to come out and get us. So we did use it for that, but we try to limit our uses of non-radio communication.
I get it. Being off the grid is that's why I love going to some of these unique parks in New Brunswick where you're totally isolated, because New Brunswick is 90% forest. I mean, 10% is urban and built up, right? So we got a lot of playground to play in, and some of those areas you go to, well, there's no cell coverage. So I like them because you just get out there and you're away for the day, right? Now if you ever have an emergency or an issue,
right,
it would nice to have some
then it hurt, right?
Yeah.
But so there's something about just being able to work without a spot, being able to work other parks, being able to command a pileup. If you can pull in a pileup and you're not spotted, you're doing something right.
Well, and the thing, you work a guy like me that knows where you are. I'm going on the DX cluster and putting you guys on the cluster, right? So that helps as well. So what's on the on the radar for you guys? What do you mean? You're going back in 2027. Any thoughts of expanding this to somewhere new?
We have kicked around different areas to think about another place we could go, but it's so hard to find another place that's going to top that's semi-remote. We can double dip in parks on the air, flora and fauna. It's U.S. islands. It's IOTA. It's they have that
Lighthouses on the air.
Yeah, there's 2 different lighthouse programs. There's that new bunkers on the air that I haven't explored yet to see how to do that. There's castles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically everything but summit. And I mean, if you pile a couple of bricks in one place, you could probably call that a summit in Florida.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Having lived in Florida for 7 years of my life, true. That's very true. Very, very, very true. But so I get it. But so nothing international. It's all you guys want to do US based because it's easy for logistical purposes. It's easy.
It's easy for everybody to get to, but hard enough that it's kind of rare, and people are going to want to reach out to you when you get there. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of cool little places in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Just giving you a little bit of a nudge. You're not going to be able to drive there. You're going to have to fly, but there's some cool little islands out there.
That would take a totally different set of logistics because right now we drive everything to Florida and then throw it on the charter boat, and we're limited by what the charter boat can handle, but we still pack pretty heavy compared to doing something like that where we'd have to fly everything.
Yeah, for sure. And the cost gets keeps going up every time you have to throw luggage on an airplane.
Yes,
absolutely.
Right.
So how many QSOs do you guys finish up with in the last year? Like the last time you went out, do you have any knowledge, any record of how many QSOs you finished with?
So this year was our top year, as I would have expected, just because we had a really great team, and it was over 5,000 QSOs for our raw QSOs. I think it was 5,265, and of those, 3,600 and some were unique calls. And I thought that was really interesting that we had that many unique calls, because with POTA, every day and every band is a new contact. And so that I was really pleased about that number. And the other thing that was interesting, we ran on 60 meters FT8. I only got 2 contacts. But the one contact that we got was a fella that worked us on 9 bands, and we only ran 9 bands. And so that was, I think the next person down ran 5 or 6 bands. So that was pretty neat to run some of those numbers.
That's a really good ratio from because most I can't remember what the Bouvet Bouvet Island guys had 103,000 QSOs and 80,000 were uniques, or 60,000 were unique. So your guys' ratio is pretty good. What about QSLing? Anything? You guys do any QSLing or anything like that after the fact?
We do. I usually ask for a self-addressed stamped envelope. Some of them come without, but I think we answered 70 requests for cards, and I have a gorgeous card. So if you're listening to this and haven't ordered your card yet, just send us a card. I am more than happy to return it even without a self-addressed stamped envelope. I would really like to get rid of the 250 cards that I ordered. I think I still have 100 left, and get a new card design for 2027 and 8. And Logbook of the World, we got a lot confirmed that way as well. I don't have those numbers.
So I'll give you guys a little pro tip from the DXer and me. Check out Club Log.
Yes, everything went up to Club Log as well.
Awesome. And I use Hamlog for all my US QSLing. So with Hamlog, I upload my ADI file to it, and they have a service called US Direct, where if somebody sends me a US QSL either through Club Log or Direct, and they send me enough return postage, I just go into Hamlog, I click US Direct, and it does the card for me all electronically. I don't have to write. I don't have to write a card. It goes in. They mail it, but only to US addresses. I'm trying to get them to expand it globally.
Okay.
Because,
now I understand. Yeah, I've been getting a bunch of those in my email lately.
Well, this is paper though. This is paper. They actually mail a copy of the card through their service to you in the mail.
I've been getting a bunch of email QSL cards from Canada only, and I didn't understand where it was coming from.
Hamlog is a group out of New Hampshire, and I use it for a couple ways. All my certificates for my special event stations and my awards that I have, because I created my own awards. And so you can, when I upload my logs, they can go and apply for the awards without me having to touch it. They put their call sign in and says, "Oh yeah, Molly's got three parks in New Brunswick. She gets the park award, right?" And she can download the certificate and QSLing. I just click a button and it says, "Okay, send Molly a QSL card." Within a couple of days, it's printed and put in the mail, and she'll get it within a week. It's and then I use the DARC outgoing QSL bureau. Same way, it's all electronic. I just put my order in there, and they send out the cards via the bureau. So I offer free QSLs to the bureau because postage is crazy. Postage in this country is just out of control.
It's nuts here too. All right, we just bookmarked that. We're going to take a look at that. After this discussion.
So going forward, 2027's already in the works. What do you have the dates booked for that?
Yep, it's going to be the third weekend, the week after Hamcation. It's sort of that weekend so that it doesn't conflict with Hamcation, but yet sort of complements it. If someone wants to take a long vacation, they could go to Hamcation and come. And it's also an international Lighthouse weekend, so we haven't really done a lot with that, but I signed up for the program so that anyone that was chasing would get their credits and whatnot. And next year is going to be all YL, so I'm working at assembling the team right now. I have invitations out to a good group. I've been hearing back from people, and they have until the 2nd of May to solidify their position. And after the 2nd of May, if I still have spots open, then I'll have a open invitation out again for anyone that would like to apply. So we always try to get our next team set in stone before the summer. It helps everyone with their travel plans. And
I don't know the dates for this yet, but this year they did a YL version of the Whiskey Alpha. So I want to say it was in early March.
Yes, I think it was the first weekend of March.
Yeah, so that was I did the VE9 with you, and that was just 27,000 QSOs in the month of January. I was done.
Oh, wow.
I was cooked like bacon. It was terrible. But the YL one was very, very successful. There was a lot of raving reviews on that. So that's cool. Have you guys ever thought about planning this around a major contest weekend?
Actually, there was a major CW contest while I was there. I never did look it up and see what that was. Worldwide DX, I think it was. We were having a hard time going into the weekend finding space anywhere in the band. So we did have to resort to the work bands.
So that would be cool to do something like that around a major contest, like the AWL WPX contest or something like that. It would be really, I mean, for me, because I'm a contester, it would be really interesting.
I love the pile up. So yeah.
The pilots are total thrill, aren't they?
Absolutely.
They sit there on the, it's frustrating to be trying to get through a pileup, but to be on there, I mean, I had a pileup today on my own special event here working from home. It was crazy.
For an hour and a half, goes by fast when you're in a pileup.
At 4 o'clock, I said, okay, I'm going QRT. I'm done. Right? No more. One more. When I go to do POTA, easily 500, 600, 700 QSOs on a POTA outing for me, because I'm out there for 4 or 5 hours at the minimum to 6 or 7 hours. My challenge for this year, I told, I can't remember who I shared in one of the interviews, is I want to do a kilo in a day.
That would be challenging.
I came close last October. It was a beautiful day. I went out to Nova Scotia and the bands were on fire. They were great. And I did 850 QSOs that day. And I ran out of daylight. And of course, here in October, when the sun goes down, it gets cold fast. So I had to pack up and head home. But I think in the middle of the summer, when they get those 12 or 13-hour days where the sun's up and it's warm, it's got to battle the mosquitoes, because the mosquitoes are pretty terrible here. Hey, Molly, Julius, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you guys coming to talk about your events and everything you guys do for ham radios out there, and the Dry Tortugas expedition. I really wish more POTA folks would do things like that. I know it's starting to gain some momentum, but with your leadership, it's just going to keep going. So really appreciate all you're doing. I'm really looking forward to the YL one. That's going to be a lot of fun to work you guys next year when you're down there. But hey, thanks for coming out and doing this. I always close with one last question. Where do you see the future of ham radio, Parks on the Air going, Molly, in the next few years to come?
Oh, it is just exponentially exploded, and I don't see any reason for it to stop. It's a great program. It's well put together, and being able to log in and check your stats, and I'm kind of a goal-oriented person, so I really enjoy being able to track the numbers without me actually having to keep track of those, because I'm a lousy record keeper.
And talking about record keeping, Dave, I remember Dave telling me when I was looking at, I can't remember what it's called now, in Ontario, he's the one that actually signed off on your Lighthouse certificate for Dry Tortugas. So he was telling me when he was doing mine for George's Island in Nova Scotia, he was doing yours around the same time. Julius, what about you? Where do you see ham radio going?
Ham radio, I think, is here to stay. People keep talking about the hobby is dying. I don't see that. I see a lot of, I don't want to say younger folks, but younger than, the 80-year-old hobbyists that we're accustomed to. I'm seeing guys our age just getting their license today. We still have a net that we do every morning and every evening here, and there's always new call signs, dozens of new call signs that we're seeing every year checking into this net. We've got digital, we've got folks getting into CW. I see the hobby as maybe not expanding as fast as it used to, but I don't think it's dying. Parks on the Air, I think, is a big part of why people are coming to this hobby and why they're staying. I think Parks on the Air is here to stay as well.
Dave Goodwin, VE3KG, was on one of my first guys I ever interviewed, and he was telling me that the Canadian ham radio population, I'm going to assume the American one is going to be somewhere similar. The Canadian population grows about 1% a year. The ham radio population is growing at 2% a year. So that's very interesting to see that, a lot of people, like the doomsdayers, say, well, ham radio's dying, right? No, totally opposite. A lot of younger folks are getting in. I talked to Glenn Marcos, who ran the Saba Island expedition with young, I won't call them youngsters, because some of them were in their late 20s, but youth operators compared to me anyways. It's really interesting to see the younger generation getting into this great hobby. Anyways, guys, I know you guys have been awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Julius, let me look up your call sign again, Julius. Alpha Kilo 9 India Tango. I got it in one of my tabs right there, Molly W3NY. Both of you joining us from Pennsylvania, not the 9 call area.
Not the 9 call.
So again, I'm not going to get into that. I created a video on that one time. Didn't do too well for the comments anyways. Thanks, guys, for coming on the program. Really appreciate everything you guys do for ham radio. Keep up the good work. We're looking forward to next year, and we'll see you guys in the log 100% for sure. Thanks again, guys.